So, as we're going on over to Facebook, you guys, I'm so excited today. This is our Wednesday show that we moved to a Friday because our guest had a amazing short-term rental conference she was at, and she got to see Damon John. So we are here on a Friday, and I'm so excited for you guys to get to know our guest today. She is coming to the table with a wealth of knowledge. We're going to go to Louisville, and she's going to tell us all about why are people vacationing there, why are people investing there? And not only does she have short-term rental experience, she also has pretty extensive long-term rental experience as well. They own well over 40 investment properties, and so she's really fluent in all the different investment strategies. She's also a local real estate agent with a background in interior design, and she can help you from taking a property that possibly needs rehab, putting that into service and really getting top returns on that. So as you guys are jumping on, go ahead and say hi in the comments. If you're coming back to catch the replay, do me a favor, say hi in the comments so we can get out there, and thank you for being here. If you love what we're putting out, do me a favor, go ahead and share that out into the internet so that more people can join us here at Short-Term Rental Confidential. And not only is Stacey an amazing real estate agent, she's also a published author, and she coaches realtors and investors to really grow their wealth. So without further ado, Stacey, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the invite. And thank you so much for your flexibility in your schedule and allowing me to reschedule to today from Wednesday so I could see one of my favorite mentors, Damon John, this week. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I know he is just brilliant. So I'm glad that you got that opportunity. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in real estate?
Oh gosh. I have always been in some sort of real estate capacity since I was in my early 20s. I started out as an interior designer at a couple of different locations here in Louisville. And what I found is that being an interior designer was an amazing stepping stone into real estate. Didn't know it at the time, but it was a really cool transition into real estate because if you think about it, an interior designer goes into your house and says, how is your home working for you right now? And how is it not working for you? What are some of the changes you need to make this home more comfortable for you? And little did I know that the universe was training me to be a great real estate agent, now broker.
I don't know if you guys caught that because a lot of times people get those two things mixed up between interior design and interior decorator. And like an
Yeah.
interior designer, like she was saying, was how does the space function for you? And I mean, it's the actual like flow of that floor plan and all of that. Where decorator is somebody that comes in and buys you pillows and curtains and that thing. So amazing background that you have. And so share with me, you started getting in real estate. Now, what made you go down the become a real estate investor yourself path?
I love this question. When I first got my real estate license in the year 2000, I think that's right, one of my very first clients was an investor. And I don't even remember how we got connected. And one Saturday morning, I was showing him properties, and he was in his pickup truck, and he and his construction manager were in his truck in front of me. And I was in my Lexus driving behind them. And we pull up to a property in an area of town that I had never been in. I've lived in Louisville my entire life, and I'd never been to this area of town. So he calls me from his truck and he says, don't get out of the car. Jimmy and I are going to go in and see this house, and we'll be right back. And I went, okay, all right. So he comes back out, calls me and says, meet us at this coffee shop. We go to the coffee shop and write it up. This was the day before .loop DocuSign, so I'm manually writing this offer up. And I said, Bill, let me ask you, what are you doing with this house? And he said, well, it's a cute little 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow. The attic has an 8-foot ceiling and it's unfinished. So I'm going to finish out the attic, make that a 3rd bedroom. I'm paying $19,000 cash for this house. Now, again, this was 24 years ago, $19,000. And I think at the time he said he was going to get, let's say, $650 a month rent for that property. Now, I'm not real good with
pay
math.
that off, and like you're like 650, that's $5,000. So 5, 10, 15, 20,
Yeah,
40
yeah.
pay off.
You see where my mind's going. Now, that was one of my very first clients when I first started in this business. And I always remembered that conversation. And I remember saying to him, Bill, if we pick this house up and move it 5 miles that way, this house is worth $200,000. So that was a really interesting learning experience from him really early in my career. So fast forward about 10 years, and I have a cross sale with another broker who's a really well-known, well-respected broker in my market. And it was a really, really enjoyable transaction. So at the end of it, I invited him out for coffee just so I could get to know him better because he was a really, really smart dude. And he said something to me I'll never forget. I said to him, what investments do you invest in? Because I'm starting to learn about investments and stock market and blue chips. And where do you put your money? And he goes, blue chips. He said, I don't have a dime of my money in the stock market. I said, what are you talking about? How do you invest? He said, every dime I own is in real estate. I own apartment complexes. I own multifamily. I own some laundromats. I own some strip centers. And I went, oh, ooh, hello. Okay. I get it. So I've stayed in touch with him over the last 15 years or so. And I just remembered this. I messaged him about a year ago and said, hey, let's go grab lunch. And it's been, I don't know, 5 or 8 years since I've seen him. And I took him out to lunch to thank him for that conversation 15 years ago. And I said, I want to show you what my portfolio looks like today, because you changed my life when we had lunch 15 years ago. When you told me that you have every dime of your money in real estate, that's where I am. And he looks at my portfolio. He goes, damn, okay. He goes, you're kicking ass. You're doing great. So that's kind of how I got started in it, is just sort of working with other investors and really, really smart people that told me what they did.
Yeah, I have a friend that just put something up this past week about taking a chunk of change and putting it in different investment vehicles and how that could play out. You know, if you put that money in the stock market and if that's going to grow at an X amount return, but then if you put it into real estate and it's going to grow at that return, like where can you really build more wealth? And what's great about the real estate side is like we're looking at that residual income. So not only are you going to get, you know, your monthly cash flow, but you have your amortization gain. And then the big one that we all love is the appreciation. Like when I look back at some of our properties and I'm like, I could have never saved that. Like, where do you
Right.
save multiple 6 figures in such a short amount of time? Like, how is that possible? And it's really the power of real estate. And so let's go through that. Let's talk about some of the investments that you have. And then I'm sure you're going to just roll us out with so much great content. And then let me know when you want me to pull up that thing we were talking about.
Sounds great. Is there anything specific you want me to start with? I'm happy to share anything that you'd like.
Do it all. Do it all, sister. Give us a master class in real estate investing. And then also we'll talk specifically about that Louisville area and like, why are people going there? Why are you investing in there? You can run us through some short-term, long-term stuff. Just you have at it. You are the expert.
Sounds great. Okay, so the very first property that my husband and I bought was, I want to say 2018. That sounds about right. And we actually, our very first
That's not
property,
that long ago.
mm-mm,
No, that's like 6 years ago. You built a portfolio over 40 homes in 6 years. That's
and 4
impressive.
short-term rentals.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. Once that switch flipped in my brain and I really understood the numbers, I was obsessed with building a portfolio as fast as I could. It took me years to actually purchase my first investment property because of, the same thing that we all have. I'm scared to lose money. What if I buy the wrong property and my tenant trashes it and it loses money? I can't afford to lose money. All of those fears that just cycle through our brains all the time. And I finally determined I'm going to do this because I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of second guessing myself. That's it. It's on. So here's what I did. So I connected with a whole bunch of wholesalers in my market and I called all of them, met them for coffee, got to know them. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want to buy some Airbnbs, some properties I can short-term rent, and I want you to go find them for me. I want them to be zoned commercial, so the city can't tell me what I can and can't do with the property. Don't have to get the neighborhood's permission and a hearing and all that. I'm not interested in all that. And I want it to be located in the Highlands, which is the cool hippie part of town with all the great restaurants and shopping. And I do not. So even before we bought our first property to be used as a short-term rental, because I know this market so well, because I've been a real estate broker for 20, however many years now, I already have the mindset of why buyers buy what they buy, why they do what they do, what they like and will pay more money for. So my mind is already geared towards helping buyers find what they want. So when it came to short-term rentals, I had traveled enough and stayed in other Airbnb properties. I knew what I liked and I knew what I didn't like, and I knew what would create an exceptional guest experience based on the crappy Airbnbs I had stayed in and what they should have done. And that also caters into my interior design background too. So when we started buying properties to convert into short-term rentals, I already kind of knew what I wanted. So my team and I, my business partner and my husband and I, we did a lot of research on the Louisville market of why are people traveling here? And what we found is the Bourbon Trail. Now, I know you had my girl Tony on a couple of weeks ago. She's the Bourbon Trail queen when it comes to properties outside of Jefferson County. She's extremely knowledgeable and just kick ass at what she does. So we determined that we wanted to have really big properties in the heart of the Highlands in Louisville that caters to bachelor parties.
Okay.
So all of our properties are designed to be very masculine, a lot of dark colors, a lot of leather, a lot of chrome, a lot of wood. And we have a really, really successful business catering to bachelor parties. And as a matter of fact, one of our properties, the name of it is Bourbon Bachelors and Bardstown Road.
Oh, cute. I
Yeah.
love the alliteration. Like, I'm a girl for like things that rhyme and things that have alliteration. Sucker for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And if you'd like, let's take a look at one of my properties called the Highball. This is the largest property that we own. It is right in the center of the Highlands, which is as I mentioned, the cool, hippie, cool area of town with all the fantastic restaurants and bars and great coffee shops. And it's an area of town that everybody wants to stay in because of all of the surroundings, everything in the area. So this property, when we bought it, when my wholesaler took me to it the very first time, it was a Camelback shotgun. For those of you that don't know what a shotgun, it's really narrow and really long. So if you fired a gun in the front door, the bullet would go all the way through and go out the back door. So imagine that. It was a Camelback shotgun, which means there's a tiny little livable space upstairs. If you think of a camel, that's a Camelback shotgun. So what we did is we took about a year to design, space plan, and the city's building permits to change the entire exterior of this property. So this is what it looks like now. That front page is the architect's rendering. So you can see we added a second story to this property. We added, gosh, I think it's about 2,500 square feet to the second story of this property. The backyard had a 2-car detached garage that was literally crumbling to the ground. We bulldozed the entire garage and built a 2-story property where that's located. So you can imagine, long, lengthy process with the city in terms of building permits, architects' renderings, and that kind of thing. So we designed this property to look like a speakeasy. We have a karaoke stage. We have a custom kitchen. We have garage doors on the front and the back of the property, so you can open the door so all the passerbyers can applaud your karaoke skills. We've got, I think the front house is 4 or 5 bedrooms. I can't even remember. And 4 bathrooms. The back house is 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. So we sleep, I don't know, 16, 18 people. And it is booked constantly. It is a really cool property.
I love it. So much fun. Oh my God. You guys did such a good job. It's got a great deck too. Oh my gosh. How much fun. Okay, yeah, you can see the back over here. Okay.
So
So here's
there's
the
the
back.
back house, and you can see the deck off the front house in the back. The deck is sort of, we call it the sky bridge. It connects the front and the back property. Now, the back property is designed much more contemporary. You'll see some of the pictures, a lot of bright colors, a lot of chrome, a lot of burnished nickel. It's a cool, funky space, but it's very different than the front house.
Mm-hmm. So much fun. Do your other ones like look like this? Are they very similar or they're different?
The other houses are also different, but they're again designed and space planned around more of a masculine theme and a lot of chrome, a lot of leather, a lot of wood.
How do I? Where did you go? Hmm. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so we got the short-term rental stuff going on. Now let's also talk about long-term because I would be real remiss if we didn't do this because you are such an expert and we're gonna get as much info as we can out of you. Because a lot of time we're talking, I love short-term because it's more flashy, it's a lot more fun. But heck, if you are not going to work your butt off doing it, because it's like it's more hospitality than it is investing, in my opinion. It's an actual hospitality business. And so what's great is you're going to build a, wealth through the hospitality industry with the real estate, but it's very active. So let's go more over into the invest in long-term investor stuff and tell me what you guys got going on over there.
So we currently have 41 long-term rental properties. They are all single family. We don't do any multifamily. We don't do any duplex, triplex, quads, apartments. Our lane is single family. There's a couple reasons that we like that. Primarily because families that want to live in single family typically stay longer. Multifamily really caters to people that move more frequently. So we like stability. We pick really awesome tenants for our properties that have a history of stability, whether it's on their job or where they are moving from. So all of our tenants they're long term. They stay forever. And a lot of them have been with us several years. And we also have one of our business models is to, when we do our renovations, most of the properties we buy need extensive renovations, which is where the forced appreciation comes in, which is just my love of this world is
Like
taking a
free
house
money.
that's exactly right. Taking a house that's really distressed and completely renovating it, adding more value to the property by adding bedrooms or bathrooms, replacing the old drafty windows, replacing the leaky roof. And one of the other things that we do is we over improve the property. Now, let me tell you why we do that. There's a lot of old school real estate investors who want to do everything as cheap as they can. And props to them, their cash flow is even better than mine because of the way that they do their renovations. We kind of do things differently. So almost every single property that we have done all of the expensive stuff before we put our very first tenant in there. Like I said, windows, doors, roofs, HVAC, plumbing, we replace everything. The reason that we do that is a couple of things. Number one, the property is going to appraise for more. So when I do my cash out refi, if that's my plan for that property, I can get more cash out to go buy more properties. Secondly, I put granite countertops in every single kitchen that I have, regardless of the area of town, regardless of the price range of the home, because I know that when I start showing that property to prospective tenants, they're going to fall in love with it and they're going to stay for forever. Because if I put them in my house on a 2 or 3 year lease, at the end of their lease, if they get the bug to kind of go out and look at other properties, see what else might be out there, no other property is going to be as beautiful as mine. So they're going to stay. They're going to stay longer. So there's a couple reasons why we put so much money and renovations into our properties. And those are just a couple of reasons why we do it.
You're signing 2 and 3 year leases?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's real interesting. I don't know if I've ever. So my husband and I, well, even before him, like we moved a lot. I felt like in like I think 8 years I had moved 6 times, right? It was just like, I don't know, you sign a year lease and the year lease is up and you go find somewhere new and you go find somewhere new and you go find somewhere new. And it was exhausting. I mean, I remember like we would have like boxes that like you wouldn't even open because they'd make it a couple of moves without even opening. We might have, I think we have a couple boxes. We have a
Oh,
basement, which is real weird for here in California, but in our
yeah.
basement, we might have one or two boxes that we've been in our house that we own now for 8 years, 7 years. We still haven't opened it yet. And I'm just like, we just need to like put it out at the street and just throw it out. And I think that box went a couple moves. Like that's probably been 10 years. Nobody's opened up the box. But signing 2 and 3 year leases like that right there, I mean, you've got a guaranteed, not guaranteed, but a very long-term tenant in there just right out of the get-go. So that's awesome.
Well,
Let's,
and actually, no, a lot of property owners do it differently.
yeah.
There are a lot of my investor friends who only do month-to-month leases, and that's their business model. That's how they, more power to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of my investor friends and students who do only 1 year leases. And what I find is part of the reason they do that might be because of fear. They have a fear that they don't want to lock that tenant into a 3 year lease. If they're going to crap out and stop paying rent, then they have to go through the eviction, whatever. It's we all have our different business models. But to go back to what I said earlier, I'm looking for stability and longevity. I want that tenant who has been in their current house 8 years, 6 years. And the only reason they're moving is because their property owner is selling the property,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or they've outgrown it because they're having more children, whatever.
Yeah.
I want stability because, as you know, one of the most expensive parts of this business is turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want to have to turn that property over every year by only doing 1 year leases. So again, that's just my business model, but
Right.
every
And a lot
business
more
model works.
due diligence up front to make sure you're picking the right tenant. I loved how, I mean, if we're going to just extrapolate on some of the messaging here and what you can, the lessons you can learn and apply anywhere, was number one, that there's many different paths to success. You can have success in many different ways. And number two, it's really about figuring out what your goals, like what do you want first? And then we back into the business model, or when short-term rental, a lot of times it'll be these blanket open-ended questions of like, where's the best place to invest? And I'm like, oh Jesus, where's the best place to invest? There's 50 other questions we got to talk about before we even get there, right? So
Right.
first, we got to figure out, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to visit the property? Because if you want to visit the property, proximity to where you live might be important. Want to invest? Maybe you want to invest where you have family. Or do you want cash flow? If you want cash flow, that might be different than appreciation. Like these could be totally different markets. So first, we got to get clear on what do you want? What are your goals? And then from there, the path starts to get let. I don't know about if you feel like this, but I always feel like once I figure out what my goals are and I get real clear on that, then it's a matter of just taking like the steps. And I really feel like, I don't know if it's God or what, but something comes in and really starts to, lead that way once you are clear on what you want. And you really can't get the path laid out in front of you until you get clear on that. That sets everything. So I
I
love.
could not agree with you more. And I don't mean to look away, but I'm looking up the homework assignment that I give to my students when they want to work with me. And it is exactly what you just mentioned. And I can't find it in my email. So basically the homework assignment is a list of about 10 questions. And one of the questions on the homework assignment to get coached by me is, where do you see yourself when you're 60 years old? Where do you live? What is your income? What is your residual income from your investments? It's questions of visualizing what your future looks like. And then we go backwards to create a plan to get you there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then there are other questions, for
Now, are
example,
these real estate agents you're coaching, or are these investors that you're coaching?
it's both.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
both. So I have some folks that are real estate agents and brokers who are just realizing hey, I need to do something else because I don't want to sell real estate forever. I need to figure out how.
We're going to stop there for a second because I'm
Okay.
always amazed. I'm like, that you're in real estate or mortgage and you know the power of what we do here. Like, you know how much we shift people's lives by helping them own a house, create generational wealth. You know the power of this. Why are you not buying investment properties? Especially because for most of us, we don't have a 401k. So, like, what are you doing? I know for our family, like, my mom, she opened our mortgage company in 93. They opened the real estate company, I think, 2005. But like when you're your own boss, like nobody gives you a retirement. And so for her, it's been accumulating rental properties because as those rental properties get paid off, that is a guaranteed income. It's a residual income. So in place of your 401k, this could be a really great way to build wealth, especially with the appreciation gain. Oh my God. So you're getting both. You're getting appreciation gain. You're also getting cash flow. So please, if you are in real estate and mortgage, like you need to be buying houses too. But even
I
if you're not,
was
you do.
I'm so glad you said that. I was shocked when I read the statistics of the percentage of real estate agents slash brokers who are real estate investors. It was something just ridiculously low, like 15%.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, and this is, I'm a real estate broker, so I get this. Part of the reason is they don't understand the difference between being an investor and being a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know or have researched the tax code to understand all the benefits they have as a real estate professional. The rep status is a huge, huge advantage that we have of being real estate professionals. And if they just read and learn the tax code, it would completely shift their mindset of being a real estate agent to a real estate investor.
All right, so we're not going to give you tax advice, so please contact your CPA and all of that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk about it. We might talk about it, but please contact your CPA because we're not able to give you that kind of advice. So share with me some of your favorites in the tax code that benefit you being a real estate investor.
So, as a real estate
I'm like, tell
professional,
me because I'm gonna take notes.
I think the number of hours is 750 hours a year. Is that right? That you recall?
I think so, but
I think
yeah.
it's 750. Again, we're not CPAs, we're not tax professionals, so talk to your tax professional. I think it's 750 hours a year that you can document and show the IRS that you spend actively participating in a real estate activity, whether it's a real estate agent, broker, property management, whatever. You have what the IRS calls real estate professional status. And then there's tons of other benefits. One of my favorite is the 1031 tax deferred exchange. My husband Ron and I just recently bought our bucket list goal of buying a property in Florida, and we sold one of our rentals here in Louisville and completely funded the 20% down payment for that property with the equity that we had in that property, and we did a 1031 tax deferred exchange.
Love it. Free
Yeah.
money. You're like, that's how like this all starts to compound, right? And you're like, you could have never have probably not that you could have never, but the chances of you doing something like that without the real estate function and like how that appreciation then grows, like this is how people get wealthy. If you're sitting, because I know I have thought these things too. You like look around and you're like, what do you do for a living? Like how and it's you have either you know this stuff or you don't, right? So we're here doing a huge service for people, sharing with them how do you grow wealth? And it really, real estate is just such an incredible asset to be able to do that in. I love
Yeah.
that. I love
And it's
that.
one of the reasons I love sharing this information with other new investors and other agents is because I have experienced so much grace and abundance in this industry. I want to share it with other people so they have it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel you. I feel you. All right, let me go over Facebook. I haven't been paying attention to you guys on Facebook. I'm sorry if you guys are there, but let me go over. Hey, Heather, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you guys, hey, Karen, thank you guys. I hope you guys have been, taking notes because this has been a wealth of info on real estate and real estate investing. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk about this. All right, so let's circle back. We'll kind of bring this to a close. We've been going here for about 30 minutes. So let's talk about maybe if anybody wanted to travel to Louisville, what are your favorite things to do there?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? There's so many cool things to do in Louisville. The Bourbon Trail is a huge part of what brings people to Louisville. Obviously, the Derby is massive for us. This year happens to be the 150th running
Wow.
of the Kentucky Derby. It's a really big deal, really big deal. All of our short-term properties have been booked for months for that. And the prices that we got for Derby weekend for our properties is mind blowing. Mind blowing that people paid that much money to come to Derby. And that's just their lodging. That doesn't include tickets to Derby and airfare and entertainment and everything else that they're doing.
Yeah, one of the things I loved about when, we had Tony on and like is when I follow her and it's still, I don't know about Louisville in particular, but relatively affordable, where I was like, okay, okay. And when you compare what that, price to buy versus the return, I'm like, oh, we got a viable option here. Because a lot of times, you're looking at well-established places, if you go over to like Gatlinburg, I have clients that are buying Gatlinburg, it's $1 million price point, and you're like, ooh, like that's a very
Yeah.
hefty one, but here,
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's one of the reasons that I have so many investor clients that I service here in the Louisville market that are out-of-state investors who are coming to Louisville buying tons of real estate in Louisville because it is still really affordable here. I had dinner with an investor client last night who is from Chicago, and he has 3 or 4 houses under contract here now, and their goal is to buy 25 houses in Louisville this year to rent out as long-term rentals because the numbers are still really good here.
hmm
Even though interest rates are at 7 or 8% or whatever they are for investors now, they are not allowing a negative mindset of higher interest rates or any other limiting beliefs to stop them from moving forward buying real estate in Louisville. And it's one of the things that I really encourage people to stop doing is stop looking at a negative mindset or a limiting belief of, oh, I can't find anything that works. The numbers don't work. Interest rates are too high. Are they? Because we have 6 properties under contract right now that will be closing in the next 30 to 45 days. I'm not allowing a negative mindset of rates are too high. I can't make the numbers work. Yeah, I can. I can make anything work if I just take a look at what that property is going to provide me in terms of cash flow, depreciation,
hmm
and appreciation, and tax write-offs. You have to look at everything in a larger scope, and you got to think long term. If you think long term of what is this property going to generate for me long term, not just cash flow. You can't just look at just one category of the investment. You have to look at it with a wide angle lens of all the other benefits it's going to provide to you.
Yeah, a lot of people miss the boat because
Yes, they do.
they're just so I don't know if it's myopic, if that's the word for it, but they zero in on just cash flow. And it's like,
Yep.
yes. And like I know our property in Georgia, I don't even, to be honest with you, it's a short-term rental. We go there a couple times a year, maybe. And I'm like this. I love it when Facebook does this. Oh, thank you. I'm like, if you can kind of pay the payment, that would be real good. And anytime that's like you got to replace the air conditioner, I'm like, oh, ouch, that hurts. But then I'm like, what did we gain in equity in the past couple of years? I'm like, there's no way I could even not make that look good. Like just because when you start to balance it, it's that way. And then I also love the fact that you said basically that, opportunity is just a mindset. And so, if you don't believe that opportunity is there, you sure will not find any. And so it's really just starts with the belief that opportunity is everywhere. And then, we all know law of attraction. Once you've set that part in your head, then that's what will start to show up for you. So I love all of that.
Yeah, the fact is you're going to find what you believe you're going to find whatever you believe. If you believe the market is saturated, if you believe interest rates are too high, if you believe the cash flow won't work, that is what is going to appear in your reality. If you tell yourself there's opportunity everywhere, I'm going to find an amazing property to buy this week, it will appear. You just have to change your mindset and grow your mindset to attract and find what you're looking for.
I love it. Why don't you
Yeah.
share with people, because I know you said you're a published author. Why don't you tell me about that, and then we'll tell people where to find you.
Yeah, I have a book that I wrote a couple years ago. Gosh, I think it was 2015, maybe 2014, called Moving Forward. And it's a book that I wrote specifically for my sellers on the consumer end of how to prepare your house for market, how to work in cooperation with your broker to get your house sold. It's just a really cool book. Yeah.
Cute. And it's called Moving Forward. I like it.
Moving Forward. Yeah.
Super cute.
Yep.
And then what's on the horizon for you? And then where can people find you?
So now that we have our portfolio to capacity, I was telling you earlier that our goal was to have 35 long-term rentals. And at the end of next month, we'll have 47. So I don't know where that came from. We've hit our goals here in Louisville. So now we're going to be looking in other vacation markets, and we've not identified what those markets are yet. We've not done enough research yet, but that's our goal, is to do some 1031s out of our long-term rentals here in Louisville to put a huge down payment on some STR vacation properties.
I love that. And you guys, she only started 6 years ago in investing. And so 6 years coming up on 40 something properties, and then being able to 1031 exchange that into a dream property. Like that is like so amazing, And so having that goal, putting that together, and then leveraging real estate to, I mean, I can't wait to have you guys buy, but I can only imagine with that many properties, just the sky's the limit with what you can do. So that's amazing. Share with people where they can find you.
Yeah, so my website is Stacey Duval Real Estate. You can find all my information there, my contact information. If anyone has any help or any questions or needs help with anything at all, I'm happy to jump on a call or a Zoom call with anybody that might need a second pair of eyes to look at your property or your project to get an extra insights or help with anything. Reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help.
Great. And then on Facebook and Insta, it is the Stacey Duval. So we'll tag you in there. And thank you guys so much for jumping on. I appreciate you guys. Hey, Mohammed, thank you for jumping on. And stay tuned, because next week we're going to go a whole new location next Wednesday at 2. Thank you so much for next Wednesday at noon Pacific time on my Facebook profile. And thank you so much for jumping on with us. I loved everything you had to say. And I just such great, like, I hate it when people say like golden nuggets, because I don't like the way that sounds, but like whatever that is, in a word that I really like, but just amazing information. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Paige. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.